Good evening, everyone. Welcome to a different kind of video. This video is going to be a live demonstration. It's going to be a live demonstration of coding a program. And the program that I've decided to set for project number 4, I was planning to do a lot more cool, maybe interesting stuff, but I've decided that just to get back into the swing of things, I haven't coded in a little bit, is to code FizzBuzz. Now, why in the world, for those who know, why in the world would I code FizzBuzz as a project? This was actually a question that I received in my interview before becoming the vice president of software engineering at my local university. I'm not sure why they asked that question, considering it's really easy, but I just want to show, I guess, the process of how someone can go about problem solving. So, yeah, let's just get into it, I guess. I want to make this very clear. I'm not looking at any code. What I'm going to show you, which I think I'll just show right now, might as well. There we go. Is the problem itself. So what is FizzBuzz? For those who maybe have clicked on this video and have no idea what it is. FizzBuzz, given an integer n, for every positive integer I greater or equal to n, the task is to print FizzBuzz if I is divisible by 3 and 5, Fizz if I is divisible by 3, Buzz if I is divisible by 5, I as a string if none of the conditions are true. So, really simple. This is a program about conditional logic, aka if statements. So, inputs. If we have the input of 3, our output will be 1, 2, and Fizz. I assume it's a for loop with every integer. So you'll check 1 first, it'll print I. You check 2, it doesn't follow those conditions, so you print 2. It's 3, so it'll print Fizz. And that's why that's here. For up to 10, it'll print 4 because it doesn't follow any of these rules. Buzz, Fizz, 7, 8, Fizz, Buzz. If we go all the way up to 20, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, until we hit FizzBuzz. Now this should be pretty simple. However, like I said, this is going to be sort of a live demonstration. So let's see if I make a complete fool of myself. I hope that doesn't happen. Let's create the program, main.py. Doesn't really matter what you call it, I guess. But before we do anything, I want to make sure that we have everything up here. I just want to make sure I can follow the definitions without having to continuously go to a web browser. So, well, there we go. Oh, that's a little bit too big. Okay, so this should actually be really simple. It says given an integer, so we can either give it ourselves as a hard-coded variable, which I think I'll do. I won't call it I, I'll call it n. We'll do 3 first. A given I, so we can just do a for loop, I in range. We don't need to count 0. There's no point doing that. 0 to n. And I believe, let's just make sure. I don't think n is inclusive when you do it in a for loop. Let's just test that out quickly. Yeah, it's not. So we're going to do +1. Perfect. Now we can print all the way from 1 to n. And every positive integer, so it has to be positive. Let's just make a function here. Def FizzBuzz. No. God. I can't really see my keyboard because my microphone's in the way. But this should be pretty simple, I think. So we're going to do some conditional logic here. N should be greater... Oh, sorry. If n is less than or equal to 0, just return. We don't have to do this, by the way. I'm just trying to think of all of the edge cases and like things that won't work. This is also part of programming, is you have to break down the problem into many different things. One of the things you usually have to look for is the edge cases, user interaction, and all that stuff. At least in the real world. Obviously, when you're coding your own applications, you can worry about your own things, but... and as long as you're transparent about it, I think it's fine. I doesn't matter because we already, it's set to always be greater than 0. So we can just put this in our in our definition here. We don't need to have a print statement. What we need now is conditional logic. So we have 4 conditions here. If FizzBuzz, or sorry, if I is divisible by 3 and 5, condition number 2, well, let's actually code that out. So if I, so how do you specify a perfect division? That's the question we're really asking ourselves. Because I can just do divided by 5 is equal to what? What do we know what this is equal to? It doesn't really make any sense. I don't think that's how you do division in Python, but whatever. How does this make any sense? Instead of specifying division itself, we're talking about if it is divisible. The best way to do so is doing modulus. Because modulus, if we have it divisible by something, it will, and it's a perfect divisibility, it's not a fractional divisibility, it will equal 0. So I modulus 3 is equal to 0, and I modulus 5 is equal to 0. We're going to, oh no, we need an array, don't we? Let's do ls equals empty lists, and we will do ls.append. I believe it is FizzBuzz. Very simple, very easy. Condition number 2, or is it elif? Yeah, I can never remember. I'm in between Python and JavaScript, so. And when I was coding FizzBuzz for my interview, I used C, which maybe that's what, you know, made him convinced, is that I was coding in C. I still don't really know why I was hired for that position, but regardless. The next condition is fizz if I is divisible by 3. So it's exactly the same sorts of conditions. Now, one of the questions you might be asking is, why am I doing it in this order? It's actually being quite generous because it's giving the order that it should be in. The reason being is that we want to check every condition first, because as we saw, there are numbers that are divisible by 3 and 5. If we put this number, or if we put this condition up here first, that condition gets executed first, and we'll miss doing FizzBuzz on, let's say, the number 15, because if our condition up here is first, 15 is divisible by 3, let's append fizz to it. But then wait, it's also divisible by 5. So we're only checking 3 here, but it's still only going to append fizz. That's why for these kinds of conditional statements, order matters. Order really does matter. That was something I learned, I think, in high school when I first started doing programming. And honestly, in high school, when I was coding, it was very, so disgusting. The spaghetti code, and I can't get over how bad some of my programs were back then. So elif, if it is divisible by 5, we will append buzz. And lastly, if it doesn't fulfill any of these conditions, else statements, ls.append I. Now, this should be really simple, really easy. Now, what I think I want to do is actually return the list, and then do list equals FizzBuzz at n. We already have n set at the top. And then print ls. 1, 2 fizz. If we go to our Edge browser, that is the condition there. Let's make it 10. Oh, chill. It's a little bit too much. So now we have 1, 2 fizz, 4 buzz fizz, 7, 8 fizz buzz. And if you see, that's exactly correct. And then we can do 20. I believe he went up to 20, but let's just go up to 15 because that's how I can showcase the FizzBuzz aspect of it. And there we go. Extremely simple program, extremely easy. However, a lot of people sometimes get confused about how do you structure and logically create these things. It's not that there's people are dumb and they don't know how to do these things. It's just that you're overwhelming yourself by over planning and over analyzing and overthinking the whole problem. Luckily, this problem was set up in a way where it's easy to understand what logic is needed to build the program. However, this is an assumption because I haven't actually done a proper technical interview at a company, but my assumption, and then if you look on Google and you see other people doing it and LeetCode interviews and all that stuff, when you see other people doing it, the thing that you need to keep in mind is that you need to try your best not to be overwhelmed by the problem. Sometimes it's worded weirdly, sometimes you're not going to understand the logic out of it. Usually with LeetCode and HackerRank and all of those other websites, you can train yourself to identify the problems, identify what logic is required, and then try to implement it yourself. But that comes with practice. Always practice. And I am putting this as an official project of mine on this channel because I think it's really important. FizzBuzz, despite how simple it is, can really trip people up. I can say on my high horse like, oh, it's such an easy program, but really, if you're new to programming, this can be like very confusing. Like, I remember when I first learned about modulus and stuff like that, we were building a timing application where you had to split, seconds into hours, minutes, and seconds. Like 20,000 seconds, split it into days, hours, minutes, and seconds. I didn't understand how to do that. I was like, oh, I need to do some weird division and I gotta make like 10 different if statements, but no, it's nothing like that. It's modulus and some division, but mainly modulus, and just structuring your if statements in the right order and correctly. And with FizzBuzz, it's the exact same thing. It's just using modulus and then structuring your if statements correctly. I hope you got something out of this video. I enjoyed doing this. I haven't done FizzBuzz in since 2021, I think, or 2020. I forgot when I was hired, but yeah. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like it if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it. If you have any ideas, actually, comment in the comment section below. I'll definitely look into it. I have a whole sheet of ideas right here. It's in the Noita font, as you can see. Noita is one of my favorite Steam games, so I put it as a font on Windows. But regardless, thank you all so much for watching. Like the video if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you later. Goodbye.